also respecting our Constitution. When federal agents create fear in our neighborhoods, when they target people based on how they look or sound, when they appear driven by quotas or financial incentives to arrest people on our streets, it damages that vital trust in our community and makes us all less safe. True public safety requires equal protection, due process, and accountability under the law. Anything less undermines the very constitutional principles these federal agencies are sworn to uphold. And the harm and the chaos that Donald Trump's federal agents are causing in our communities is hurting us here at home. As you can see in the recitals of our resolution, we state that on Friday, May 30th, 2025, in the middle of a busy evening service, ICE agents conducted a worksite immigration enforcement action at Bocena Forchetta in the South Park neighborhood of San Diego. A large contingent of armed federal agents carrying military-grade equipment arrived in tactical vehicles to this restaurant. They deployed flash bang devices and took aggressive dispersal actions, which drew widespread public panic and caused them to call 911 and our police officers to have to show up to this scene. That's pulling them away from their real duties of actually investigating real crime. The unlawful federal immigration enforcement tactics have also impacted public's trust in state and local law enforcement. Deteriorating public trust in local law enforcement has serious long-term consequences to all of our public safety. It suppresses the reporting and prosecution of actual crime, including crimes committed against citizens and immigrants alike. Aggressive federal immigration enforcement tactics also exhaust our state and local resources. We do not have the budget or the time to be cleaning up after ICE's messes when they call 911, so our actual police officers have to show up. Many people don't realize this. The federal agents and our police officers do not share a radio frequency. There's no special phone number that ICE calls. ICE actually calls 911, like the rest of us, when they want help from our SDPD, and often gives them very little information about what our SDPD is showing up to. And then it's very difficult for the rest of us when all they see is pictures of police cars next to ICE cars. And of course, people are justifiably confused about whether or not our police officers have participated in this. We have actually one of our police lieutenants on the line to answer questions, but this is what they do. They call 911. I personally listened to the 911 dispatch transcripts. Moreover, in December 2025, the federal government initiated something, quote, Operation Metro Surge, calling for the mass deployment of federal immigration enforcement agents into the twin cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. After weeks of escalation, the nation witnessed the fatal shootings of Renee Nicole Macklin Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3 children, by an ICE agent in Minneapolis on January 7, 2026. Less than 3 weeks later, on January 24th, 2026, federal agents shot and killed, she was killed in 2025. On January 24th, 2026, federal agents shot and killed Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old intensive care nurse at a Veterans Affairs Medical Center. Mr. Preddy was reportedly helping a bystander who was shoved by the ground by federal agents moments before he was pepper sprayed, violently pulled to the ground, and shot 10 times. On January 12, 2026, the state of Minnesota and the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the District of Minnesota against the Department of Homeland Security and related agencies and officials, asking the court to end the unprecedented surge of DHS agents into the state and declare their behavior unconstitutional and unlawful. On that same date, on January 12, 2026, the state of Illinois and the cities of Chicago filed a lawsuit against DHS and the Trump administration officials over the alleged unlawful and dangerous tactics used by ICE and CBP agents in their cities. It is clear to me, as the public safety chair of the city of San Diego, that what ICE and federal agents are doing across this country is fueling fear, unrest, and harm. This is not law enforcement. Today, my colleagues and I have brought forward a resolution for the council's consideration, highlighting a few of many of the tragic and terrorizing events that have taken place at the hands of these agencies under the direction of President Donald Trump. This This resolution today makes clear that this council adamantly opposes the inhumane, unjust, and unconstitutional tactics taken at the behest of the Trump administration and the Department of Homeland Security. Additionally, this resolution explicitly supports the efforts of the states of Minnesota and Illinois and their respective cities to address the actions of the Trump administration's aggressive and unjust and unlawful immigration enforcement tactics, and authorizes the Office of the City Attorney on our behalf to file or join amicus curiae briefs, take alternative actions to support the governments of Minneapolis, of Minnesota and Illinois, and their cities, St. Paul and Minneapolis. Somebody asked me earlier today if this is merely a symbolic action, and our constitutional rights are not symbolic. Our rights to the Fourth Amendment prohibition on unreasonable search and seizure are real. Our rights to be able to express ourselves under the First Amendment and not be shot in the face are real. And so I want to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Elo Rivera and Councilmember Moreno, for joining in this resolution. And I'll now turn it over to Councilmember Elo Rivera.
Thank you, Councilmember Von Wilpert. Appreciate your invitation to join this resolution, and thank you, Councilmember Moreno, for joining us as well. I will preface these comments by not apologizing, but contextualizing the frustration and anger and sadness you are likely to hear my voice, which is born from the real life experiences of my constituents and people who are close to me, who I care about deeply, who've been impacted by what we've seen and what we are seeing. The scenes that we are witnessing in Minnesota are shocking, but they are not shocking because they are unforeseen. Communities here in San Diego have been living with abusive behavior by ICE and Border Patrol for years. And those abuses grew in number, intensity, and brazenness almost the second the Trump administration took office for the second time. Parents in San Diego have been dragged from their cars while picking up or dropping off their children at school. People who are following the legal process have shown up for their day in court only to be met with dirty legal maneuvers and handcuffs. I've cried with neighbors and friends who have described the fear that now pervades their daily lives, the way that parents in neighborhoods the way that parents are coordinating to walk each other's kids to school or create escape routes through their backyards just in case armed agents return to their neighborhoods. This is not law enforcement. Across the country, we've seen federal agents kill Americans in broad daylight, followed by an official effort to deny or minimize what the public plainly witnessed, and then to smear the names of the people who were killed, Renee Good and Alex Preddy. We've seen children used as leverage, placed in harm's way, or used as live bait to draw parents into arrest. And we've seen this administration repeatedly test, defy, and outright ignore court orders meant to restrain its actions. And these are not isolated incidents, they are flashing alarm signals. ICE and Border Patrol are operating not as neutral law enforcement agencies, but as a paramilitary arm of the Trump regime. They're being deployed not to keep communities safe, but to terrorize entire neighborhoods and to intimidate anyone who dares to bear witness, speak out, or stand in dissent. What we are seeing in Minnesota and Illinois, what we saw in Los Angeles, and what we are seeing here in San Diego is not about immigration policy. It's about power, it's about punishment, it's about crushing opposition through fear. I want to say how I admire the courage of the everyday people in Minnesota and Illinois and Los Angeles and here in San Diego and across the country who have stood face to face with armed, masked agents to protect their neighbors and demand that basic human and constitutional rights be respected. That is extraordinary courage that is essential to maintaining this country as a democracy, and it's unacceptable that regular, ordinary people are being forced into that position at all. The actions we are taking today, and the actions previously taken by this council, by the city attorney and the mayor, do matter. They send a signal, they build a record, and they establish moral clarity. And we also have to be honest with ourselves and the public. This crisis will not end so long as fascists are allowed to wield power at the federal level. And even when that changes, symbolic action alone will not be enough to repair the damage that has been done. The recruitment language coming out of ICE increasingly mirrors the language used by white nationalist movements and authoritarian governments. Standards for hiring have declined to the point of being a perverse joke. Training requirements have declined, and the agencies are being led with malignant intent. Under those conditions, reform is not a serious answer. ICE, as it currently exists, should not exist at all. The agents who have committed crimes must be prosecuted, and we must begin grappling with accountability in a broader sense, including whether individuals who chose to participate in these agencies during this period of abuse should ever be entrusted with public employment in our city. I, for one, do not believe they should. I believe public trust depends on that. So I'm proud to partner with you, Councilmember Von Wilpert and Councilmember Moreno, in bringing forward this resolution, knowing it is certainly not the end of our responsibility, but another step in a longer struggle to move from condemnation to accountability and from justifiable fear to justice. San Diego does need to continue to lead, and that needs to be not solely in words, but also in action. And we need to be prepared to do more when the moment demands it. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that is the conclusion of the presentation, or would? Okay, we'll turn to Councilmember Moreno.
Thank you. Thank you to Councilmember Marnie Von Wilpert and Councilmember Sean Elo Rivera for collaborating with my office on this resolution. I'm greatly disappointed and also heartbroken in our current federal administration and the Department of Homeland Security with the recent violent ICE raids that have occurred not only in San Diego, but throughout the whole nation. We began the 2026 year with 2 lives that were taken at the hands of ICE in Minnesota. Their names were Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Now, my heart and condolences goes out to the families and the loved ones of these 2 victims. Here in San Diego, ICE agents have inflicted violence and terror in our community. Just last year, a parent was ripped from his car while dropping off his small child near an elementary school in City Heights. Another parent was pulled into an unmarked van while waiting to pick up his child from Linda Vista Elementary School. Now, as a mother of a young child, I can't even imagine the terror those families faced and are facing. Actions like these that have been taken by ICE are simply inhumane, unconstitutional, and are not welcomed in San Diego. It has led to drastic terror in my communities, impacting parents, children, seniors, and even people who were born here in the US. I know of friends who are carrying their passport This has led to a lack of public trust in state and local government and also law enforcement. Here in the city of San Diego, we've partnered with our local enforcement. We have asked our local enforcement to go out into our communities, and they've responded, and they have gone out. But what we've been seeing the past few months has been detrimental to the public's trust in our law enforcement. And enough is enough. America deserves better. And I am very proud to be partnering on this resolution and to be able to speak out. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, can we please proceed with public comment?
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. We do have several speakers here in person and on the virtual queue. If you can please come up to the yellow reserve seats in the front. It will be going to a minute per person, starting with Jean Wong. If you can please come to the podium. William Carden, Marissa Burke, Nadine Miller, and Andy Coop. If you can all please come up to the yellow reserve seats. And we'll start with Jean.
Hello, and thank you. Ro, congratulations on your baby. As Mayor Brandon Johnson from Chicago said this Saturday, nobody is above the law. There's no such thing as an absolute immunity in America. That principle, that no agent or agency is above the law, must apply everywhere, including San Diego. And this brave mayor put ICE and HSI on notice boldly. I want to be very clear, supporting this resolution does not replace the need for a direct conversation with Mayor Todd Gloria and Chief Wall. ICE and HSI have openly admitted repeatedly that they do not intend to follow state law, sanctuary law, or even basic standards of identification. When an agency claims authority but refuses to follow the law, they are no longer acting as a law enforcement. They've become a danger to the public, and when that danger is known, our response cannot be vague, passive, or reactive. It must be clear, preventive, and rooted in protecting a human life.
Thank you for that concluding comment.
I have ceded 1 minute.
What is your name?
Gene Wong,
Please continue.
thank you. SB 54 says San Diego Police Department does not assist ICE or HSI, but clarity matters. SDPD also does not assist bank robbers, yet they would never stand by, control traffic, or provide cover when a robbery is happening with assistance to facilitate the robbery. It's literally the same exact thing. They are breaking laws, and San Diego Police Department is watching them do so. Here's the real question. If a family's asleep and someone violently breaks into their home, do they call 911? And if SDPD arrives and determines that it's ICE or HSI, what happens next? Will officers verify judicial warrant? Will they ensure that no one in the house is being harmed, especially kids being traumatized, which they are? Or will they demand identification or require agents? Or will they just step aside and allow these atrocities to continue? We need to know. Our officers need to know. Our community deserves to know. This resolution is a start, but clarity, accountability, and direct conversation are not optional. This is
Thank you.
urgent. Thank you.
Thank you for that
thank
concluding
you.
comment. William Carden. After that is Marissa Burke.
My name is William Carden. I live in Council District 7. Congratulations, Councilmember Campillo. I support this resolution to curb and prevent the violent actions of ICE, but as written, I'd like to add that the language of the resolution is insufficient. It doesn't clearly define the role of SDPD in ICE encounters, and it does not explicitly prohibit performance of assistance to ICE. And assistance can include transporting residents on behalf of ICE or DHS, providing traffic control, or it can include contracts or agreements that enable ICE to operate in San Diego. We've already seen how policy ambiguities can work when the city of Escondido reportedly allowed ICE to train on a police firing range under a contract that the mayor and city council claimed they were unaware of. We didn't know will not be an acceptable excuse in San Diego. In the last 2 weeks, I've witnessed an unmistakable message from San Diego residents at rallies and public events, and the message is that ICE is not welcome in San Diego in any capacity. So to be clear, I support the immediate adoption of item 608, and I urge this council to append its language to explicitly prohibit
Thank you for
ICE
that
and DHS
concluding comment.
assistance. Thank you.
Marissa.
Hi, thank you. I support this resolution opposing the violent actions of ICE agents and supporting litigation to curb and prevent those actions. But a resolution without clearly being defined and having limits on local participation is not sufficient. It leaves too much room for interpretation and too much risk for residents in communities that are already experiencing disproportionate ICE activity. As Tom Homan publicly signals a more aggressive expansion of immigration enforcement, San Diego must be explicit now about the role of the SDPD in ICE encounters, especially in communities that are already considered high risk for ICE operations. I know some will urge that SDPD must cooperate with ICE in the name of public safety, or that local law enforcement has no authority to intervene when ICE agents are present. That is not accurate. California law already draws a clear line between federal immigration enforcement and local policing. This council has the authority to define how SDPD resources are used and how they are not used.
Thank you for that concluding comment. Nadine Miller. After Andy Coop, it'll be Ramses and then Blair Beekman. If you can please start making your way up to the yellow reserve
So-
seats. please proceed.
It's a 1 minute, right?
Yeah, 1
Okay,
minute.
thank you. Hey, y'all, my name's Nadine. I don't know if y'all tells y'all that I'm not from here. I moved to San Diego a couple of years ago, but y'all might not be Southern the way that I'm Southern, but y'all are still Southern and y'all love your neighbor. And one of the things I love about San Diego and one of the reasons I'm still here is because of how all these little neighborhoods treat each other. And talking about all these amendments is kind of above my pay grade, but I do know if we get some more explicit language in here, like some of these other people have said, I think it'll make a lot of us feel a lot safer here. I'd like to stay here. I'd like my friends to stay here. I'd like to keep knowing who my neighbor is. I'd like my neighbor to be able to trust where their kids are going. And can I also just say, as a personal trainer, everybody thinks they can do my job, and nobody does my job as well as I do. San Diego police get far more training than ICE does. Nobody can do their job as good as they can. And I think that if you guys can make this more specific, people in my community who did not back the blue will back the blue because they feel backed by them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Andy Kopp. You have people ceding you time. Nicole Johnson, if you can please raise your hand. Thank you. Michael Vera, Michael, if you can please raise your hand. Lucy Fox de Urbe, thank you. And Shelley Williams, you'll have 5 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this forward. My name is Andy Kopp. I'm a veteran of the United States Navy. I'm here today to offer support of the resolution before you and felt particularly compelled to be here as a veteran to honor Alex Preddy, who was killed by federal law enforcement agents in Minneapolis a little over a week ago. As we learned of his killing, we also learned that Alex was an intensive care unit nurse at the VA hospital in Minneapolis and a union member of the American Federation of Government Employees. And as a veteran, it's important to me that we acknowledge those last two facts. Over the last year, in addition to the escalation of immigration tactics across the country, this current administration has attacked, demeaned, intimidated, and laid off unionized federal workers without concern for department and agency missions. And in some cases, their efforts have been meant to undermine those missions entirely. And so it was in this last year that we've seen an effort toward worker solidarity that is unprecedented in the modern era. That solidarity is borne out over and over by unions coming to the protection and support of veterans like myself, my wife, and my friends. Unions were an organizing force of the nationwide hands-off protests in April. Weeks after that, unions led by the National Nurses United organized at VA medical centers across the country to continue protesting cuts to essential healthcare workers and services supporting veterans. And again in June, the Union Veterans Council of the AFL-CIO organized the Unite for Veterans rally on the National Mall, followed by a national tour of leadership by AFGE to protect the VA from cuts to veteran services and the workers who provide them. And so Alex Preddy wasn't just a man on the street, and he wasn't just a person who put himself between a neighbor and harm's way. He wasn't just a union nurse who worked at the VA. Alex Preddy was the embodiment of the idea that our humanity derives from our belief in each other, our willingness to protect each other, and our endeavor to work in solidarity with each other. In that vein, I want to recall this body's relatively recent history and ask for your consideration of this resolution. In August of 2020, this body called another special session to advance a similar resolution in the face of extreme and unconstitutional tactics by federal law enforcement agents attempting to suffocate the rising spirit of the Black Lives Matter movement. Along with my friend, the late Greg Block, who so many of you remember from local civic affairs, we joined the staff presentation by the Office of Councilmember Georgia Gomez and with the support of then Councilmember Chris Ward. In our presentation, Craig and I noted the efforts of San Diego's elected to rein in the use of so-called less than lethal munitions, as well as efforts to require federal law enforcement identification in the line of duty. We noted the breadth of federal law enforcement agencies that had taken to our streets as de facto national police forces. We noted the new fears of white Americans catching up to the old experiences of life in America as a person of color. And we noted, and this is particularly true as I have served in Iraq and Afghanistan, that so many of their actions are prohibited on the foreign battlefield, and thus we cannot tolerate them on American streets. All these actions and concerns and behaviors that we must reject return to America with staggering ferocity. And today I ask consideration of amendments to the action items of this resolution. Those amendments include the following. The Council of the City of San Diego declares its support for the creation of a civil rights unit within the Civil Litigation Division of the Office of the City Attorney, and shall appropriate funds to support the creation and operations of such a unit. Number two, when the City Attorney lacks empowerment to pursue cases involving the violation of civil rights, the Council of the City of San Diego will, as appropriate and capable, support civil legal counsel, including law clinics, for the purpose of assisting the recourse of its citizens against constitutional and civil rights violations by federal agencies in pursuit of indiscriminate detainment and deportation of persons residing in the City of San Diego. Number three, in accordance with the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution, the California Constitution, California laws, the city charter, and local ordinances, this council should assert its right to govern in the interest of protecting the peace and preserving the well-being of city residents without intervention from federal law enforcement officers, especially where their assistance is not requested and their actions may fall outside of their jurisdictional authority. And 4, this council requests the Office of the City Attorney draft legal memos as sufficient for SDPD to monitor the activities of federal law enforcement agencies when on city streets and other non-building city areas, and to respond to violations of the law by federal law enforcement agencies as appropriate, including to intervene and detain as necessary to prevent the violation of our citizens' civil rights. Today is an opportunity to advance a far more robust position than a tailored writ to support legal actions being pursued in other states. Every instance of an untargeted operation in our streets may be an opportunity to bring a case under the 10th Amendment as necessary. Every instance of a civil rights violation may be an opportunity to bring a case challenging the official duties test and the clearly established standard undergirding qualified immunity. Every instance of a civil rights violation ought to be weighed against provisions of incitement and disturbing the peace such that we are protected by local law enforcement when the encroachment of federal law enforcement provokes both. You are here having found yourselves being asked to serve in a tremendously perilous moment in our history. I will say again, as I did before this body back in 2020, that like you, I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and that I would bear true faith and allegiance to the document at the foundation of this union. To bear true faith is to give honest testimony, loyal testimony as a matter of duty.
Thank
and that's
you
what
for
you're
that
doing today.
concluding.
Thank you so much.
Ramses?
All right, so I want to start off by saying thank you to the 3 council members that brought this forward. I've been talking about this for a minute, so I want to say that. To Mr. Elo Rivera, I want to say especially thank you because you're the first Democrat at this point that I've heard say that we should be going after the officers top down, because at this point, the entire federal administration is, and it's a criminal organization. Whether you want to look at the finances, whether you want to look at how it's treating our people, it's a criminal organization. And all people that have been seeing the same videos that we have and make the choice to go join ICE, they should be held accountable for that choice. And whether that means criminally prosecuting the ones that commit abuse or not, we need to be doing whatever we can. And what that means is we also need to be having SDPD officers following these agents around, because what we know about what's going on is only what we know from volunteer reporters having to put their lives on the line and put themselves in front of armed men with no immunity to hold them safe. So protect these people and use
Thank you
SDPD's resources.
for that concluding remark. Blair Beekman?
Hi, Blair Beekman. I'm really interested thank you very much for this item, by the way, how you can be talking directly with federal government agencies and persons in, these federal positions about the way they work. Can we talk about de-escalation and demilitarization when they work? If they're going to work at all, we can talk about that too. I know Berkeley, way back when, in 2017-18, ICE were doing the same thing, same awful tactics back then. Berkeley really sat down and said, you guys can't do this anymore, like what happened here in North Park in May. We set a course and we said, you can't work this way, and it worked. And I hope you really directly know how to talk and set a standard, how we work in San Diego, that can spread across the country. Look what they did in the Bay Area. They said no to ICE agents. They left because they gave them good reasoning why they shouldn't be there. Man, we got to create good examples. Let's really practice. Good luck to our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. I've started the 5-minute timer. I'm going to those participating remotely. We currently have 26 people in the queue. It will be 1 minute each. So making sure nobody here is, okay. Patty, if you can please unmute.
Thank you, Patricia Mondragon for Alliance San Diego. We appreciate the intent of this resolution. It elevates stated values by opposing excessive force tactics used by the administration and authorizes the city attorney to support litigation in Illinois and Minnesota. Those statements matter, but they do not materially change conditions for communities here in San Diego. We have seen a surge of immigration arrests by 1,500% in San Diego. Real harm is happening in your districts every day. At a moment when this council has real authority to act locally, symbolism is not enough. You can pass the due process safety ordinance and direct clear police protocols for responding to federal requests for assistance. Critically, you can take immediate steps to end the city's contract with FLOC and remove immigration enforcement agencies from accessing RJES. These tools enable information sharing that are putting San Diego's communities at risk. Please do more. We need protection here, not just
Thank you for
solidarity.
that concluding remark. My apologies. Hector, if you can please unmute. Hector, I can unmute. There you go.
All right, thanks for taking my call. Well, I'm like the opposite of that. I'm for mass rapid deportation committee in San Diego. Anybody here illegally has got to go, and they got to go rapidly. I'm all for ICE. I'm for having ICE give gift cards to Phil's Barbecue. We need the Marine Corps to protect ICE from the angry mob. The angry mob is suffering like you guys are from Trump derangement syndrome. The therapy session will include putting on the Make America Great Again hat and walking around town for a week. That might cure you from that Trump derangement thing. But these guys got to go. Take your $1,000 and go. Quit having your kids suffer. If you don't want kids to suffer, go back to your country and talk to your family. Take them back with you, man. We got to start this game over. And take our city back, man. There's 20,000 guys here illegally. They got to go, man. Thank you.
Next speaker is Pragati, if you can please unmute.
Hi, this is Pragati. I know there's a lot of people, so I'll be quick. On top of the current resolution, I urge the council to make an unannounced audit of the Otay Mesa detention facility. This is a for-profit facility run by Core Civic with government grants. A lot of the detainees, and they have had to wait more than a year to even see a lawyer. They need $10 to even make a phone call. I urge you to make an unannounced audit, also to give detainees unlimited phone calls. Why do they have to pay for phone calls? That ends up putting the cost on us to give them legal representation. So that is my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Connor Duncan, if you can please unmute.
Hi, thank you. We've heard, some of the awful things that these agents have been doing, and unfortunately, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's cases out of Chicago, ICE agents making an illegal U-turn and crashing into a US citizen, getting out of the car with weapons drawn and arresting her for crashing into her. Isn't that nice? Agent Isaiah Anthony Hodgson, who got into a violent drunken altercation with Long Beach police, when he was detained, said, "Hey, I'm law enforcement, I'm not a civilian." And that just shows their exact mentality. Two-tiered system, and they think they can act with total impunity. It is about damn time that we show them that that's not true and put the foot down. I am also eager to hear some of our other frequent virtual commentators who are standing up to government overreach and abuse. And I'm looking forward to their loud support of this measure. For consistency's sake, we'll see.
Vianney Rubalcaba, if you can please unmute.
Hi, good afternoon, council members. I'm a resident of District 3. I was born in National City, and I'm a daughter of Mexican immigrants. I have family on both sides of the border, and I want to thank the council members for bringing this item forth. I do want to add that we need clearer policy to prohibit SCPD from cooperation. ICE is applying a tremendous overreach far beyond the lawful authority of its lead agency, and it shouldn't exist at all. This council has the power to stop ICE's overreach in its tracks by prohibiting cooperation by SDPD, including handing over any data from the streetlight cameras and license plate readers. So I urge you all to consider either amending the resolution or passing the appropriate ordinance and taking concrete steps to curbing this overreach. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sierra, if you can please unmute. Sierra Crow, I can't unmute. There you go.
Hi, my name is Ciara Croja. I'm a resident of District 2. I support the resolution to oppose the violent actions of ICE agents, and I support litigation to curb and prevent these actions. I ask you to take it a step further and clearly state the role of SDPD in ICE encounters before Tom Homan's aggressive assault on San Diegan begins. Please explicitly state in this resolution what it means for SDPD not to assist ICE. We ask that that include not transporting residents for ICE and not supporting with traffic control for ICE. We also ask that SDPD protect the residents of San Diego by intervening when an ICE agent assaults them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Dog, if you can please unmute. I can unmute for you.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Hi, it's Devin Turk. I apologize. Yes, so I support this resolution opposing unnecessarily aggressive and excessive federal immigration enforcement tactics, supporting litigation to curb these actions. I also urge the council to clarify San Diego's local role, specifically that SDPD does not participate in civil immigration enforcement consistent with California's sanctuary law and existing state policy. Please explicitly state that SDPD will not transport residents on behalf of ICE, as local resources should be reserved for city public safety priority, not federal civil enforcement. I ask for confirmation that SDPD will not provide logistic support, such as traffic control and perimeter assistance, for ICE operations that are civil immigration actions rather than criminal investigations. The city should ensure transparency by directing the city attorney of SDPD leadership to provide a clear public summary of current department policy during ICE encounters, so residents understand their rights and what local officers can and cannot do.
Thank you. Next is Charlie, if you can please unmute.
Hello, council members. My name is Charles Chapman. I'm a member, resident of District 2. My first time here. Thank you for all you are doing. Thank you for all you continue to do. Thank you for hearing our comments. I too support the resolution to oppose the violent actions of ICE agents and support litigation to curb and prevent these actions. I ask you to take it a step further to clearly state the role of STPD in ICE encounters before Tom Homan's aggressive assault on San Diegans begins or continues. Please explicitly state in this resolution what it means for SDPD to not assist ICE. We ask that that includes not transporting residents for ICE and not supporting with traffic control for ICE. We also ask that SDPD protect the residents of San Diego by intervening when an ICE agent inevitably assaults them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Canberra, if you can please unmute. The 5-minute timer also concluded. We had 20 speakers in the queue when it concluded. We now have 19. No additional speakers will be taken. Please proceed.
Hi there. My name is Canberra. I live in District 3. I also support this resolution. Like others who've spoken before me, including our council members, I am horrified at the ongoing violence and unconstitutional actions of ICE agents in Minnesota and Oregon, here in California, and throughout the US. I support litigation to curb and prevent further unconstitutional actions on the part of federal agents. I also agree with previous commenters who have asked you, those who have been elected to represent us, your public, to further clarify and add explicit statements to this resolution that clearly delineate the role of our police force when our neighbors inevitably encounter ICE in our streets, in their homes, in their places of work. SDPD's commitment is to the residents of our city, our neighbors. They must serve and protect us, the public. I'm asking that SDPD commit to protecting the residents of San Diego by intervening on
Your
our
time has
behalf
concluded.
when our
Your
constitutional
time
right.
has concluded. 1733, if you can please unmute. 1733. I can unmute for you. It is *6 to unmute. If you can, there you go.
Hello?
Yes, please proceed.
Hi, my name is Jonathan, and I was actually calling in today for the fact that I'm an IT guy and a nerd, and I have an actual solution that could fix all of this. Everything that we talked about, it'll fix the budget, the overtime, everything. It also will definitely be able to remove ICE. I also need, I'm actually embarrassed of our legal system and the justice system. I cannot find a lawyer. I've been trying for 3 months to get a hold of a lawyer, somebody that could take this case, because the contract that ICE and the president had signed is null and void. But that's because I've done government contracts for 23 years. I know how they work. But I need to speak to somebody about that, as well as just present this solution that has 0 weapons, it utilizes what we already have, and it saves our budget, city, state, and national, between 60 and 87% annually after necessity items. I just don't have anybody to talk to, nobody will listen to me, and I don't get called back. And
Thank
I'd
you.
love
That
to
does conclude
roll
your
it out,
time.
and
Wendy Castro, if you can please unmute. Wendy Castro, I can unmute for you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Hi, my name is Wendy Castro. I'm from District 1, and I want to thank the council members that brought up this resolution. And I just wanted to say that I support the resolution to oppose the violent actions of ICE agents and support litigation to curb and prevent these actions. I've been living in San Diego for 17 years. We are a border town. Millions of people cross our border every day to come to work. And I really condemned all these unconstitutional actions by ICE and would like them to go further and actually clearly state the role of San Diego PD, because San Diego PD should be keeping us, the residents of San Diego, safe and not assisting ICE. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Peach, if you can please unmute.
Hi there, and thank you. Now is the time to speak up and out against the unconstitutional actions of ICE. As a city called San Diego, we have a duty to stand up for our neighbors and friends who are being targeted by ICE. Not adapting this resolution would be embarrassing for us as a city now and in the future as people look back on this time in history. How dare we use the already extremely limited funds of this city to support ICE in their reign of terror? If we can't afford free parking in our city's gem of a park, we certainly cannot afford to support or clean up after ICE. I also echo the call for an unannounced audit of the conditions in the Otay Mesa facility and remain concerned about the people detained there and the money spending. I hope we can all have the bravery of Renee and Alex, and I also want to ensure we remember Keith Porter Jr., who was shot and killed in Los Angeles by an off-duty ICE officer. I stand on the right side of history and urge you to do the same. It is now and forever, abolish and prosecute ICE. Thank you.
Thank you, Tennille. If you can please unmute.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the council members for remarks and recognizing the terror and harm in our country right now. Thank you for recognizing Renee Good and Alex Preddy. I also want to recognize Keith Porter Jr. I support the resolution to oppose the violent actions of ICE agents and support litigation to curb and prevent these actions. I ask you to take it a step further to clearly state the role of SDPD in ICE encounters and Tom Homan's aggressive assault on San Diegans begins. Please explicitly state in this resolution what it means for SDPD to not assist ICE. We asked that you include not transporting residents for ICE, not supporting with traffic control for ICE. We ask that SDPD protects the residents of San Diego by intervening when ICE agents inevitably assaults them. Thank you.
Thank you. 4818, if you can please unmute. 4818. I can't unmute for you. There you go.
Hi, my name is Erica, and I strongly support Resolution 608 to oppose the violent and abusive actions of ICE agents to pursue litigation that meaningfully curbs and prevents these harms. This resolution needs to go further. It needs to clearly and unequivocally define the role of the San Diego Police Department in any interaction involving ICE. San Diegans deserve absolute clarity on what it means for SDPD to not assist ICE, and this should explicitly prohibit SCPC from transporting residents or ICE providing traffic control, logistical support, intelligence, as well as any operational assistance that enables ICE enforcement actions. Anything less leaves dangerous ambiguity that places residents at risk. Moreover, SCPC has an obligation to protect the people of San Diego. When ICE agents engage in excessive force, unlawful detention, or violent conduct, SCPD must intervene,
Your time has
not stand
concluded.
by or
My
cooperate.
apologies, your time has concluded. Nancy, if you can please unmute. Nancy, I can't unmute. There you go. Nancy, you dropped off. Going to Erica, if you can please unmute. Erica Salconi, if you can please unmute. A pop-up should have appeared. I will have to go on to our next speaker if going on to our next speaker, iPhone, if you can please unmute. *6.
Hello, thank you for having us today. Thank you for bringing this up. It's very important for the city of San Diego. I'm in favor of this for sure, and I want to just reflecting on everybody, what they've said, we need to have explicit details on what the role of San Diego Police Department will be having with us. Yeah, that's about it. I want you guys to just do the right thing for everybody in San Diego, for all of our neighbors and our children. We deserve a safe place. We deserve our children to be protected and our neighbors to be protected. And we deserve that people who are coming here legally to work, legally who are here, not to get harassed or murdered on the streets. And we want to be able to trust our police force. So I think it's very important that you make explicit what the details of what they're supposed to do for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Katie, if you can please unmute. Katie Hallett, there you go.
Hi, my name is Katie Hallett. I'm a San Diego resident, and I'm speaking in support of this resolution with requested amendments. As we process an overwhelming amount of information daily, I want to ground this moment. Just last week at the council meeting, we commemorated the Holocaust, a reminder that consequences when state violence is normalized and institutions fail to protect citizens. I support this resolution, but without explicit enforceable directives. It does not meaningfully protect San Diego residents. The city must clearly and unequivocally define the role of San Diego police in ICE encounters, including what non-assistance means in practice. So yeah, that's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tristan, if you can please unmute.
Hello, my name is Tristan Beery, and I'm the youth organizer at Youth Will. I am here in support of this resolution. I support this resolution because I don't believe that ICE should exist in the same way I don't believe borders should. Given that is not the world we currently live in, I think that it is important for San Diego, the city of San Diego, to at least remember the distinction between civil immigration law and criminal law, as to ensure that the San Diego Police Department does not comply with the Gestapo-like actions of ICE. Some may not know, but a fairly large portion of quote-unquote illegal immigrants are visa overstayers, which does not constitute criminal law. Even though crossing illegally is only a misdemeanor on the first offense. If the San Diego Police Department can receive so much of our fiscal budget, they should abide by the ideal of serving and protecting San Diegans by refusing to aid in the illegal kidnappings of our neighbors by these masked gunmen and instead helping those who are being stolen off our streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tasha, if you can please unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Awesome. There must be clear policies prohibiting the deployment of San Diego police officers in response to false or manufactured emergency reports by federal agencies, including HSI and ICE, especially when those agencies are reacting to whistles, horns, cameras, or loud observers. Weaponized fear or discomfort is not an emergency and should never trigger an armed local police response. Fabricated urgency diverts resources, endangers the public, and erodes trust. This cannot be normalized. The city must stop creating dead letters, resolutions, and executive orders without enforcement, and instead enforce laws that hold all law enforcement operating in this city accountable. I heard the city council's outrage toward DHS agents. That same outrage must be applied inward, where is sustained accountability for the San Diego Police Department. Where is the response to Gestapo-style policing, officers jumping out of cars and bikes, demanding ID with unlawful basis, conducting searches without consent or cause, beating and shooting
Thank
people?
you for that concluding comment. My apologies, your time has concluded. Humaira, if you can please unmute. Humaira.
Hi, my name is Humaira Yusufi with PANA. While we support anyone recognizing that ICE is putting people in harm's way, I really just have to be honest that we are past the time for resolutions. We are past the time for lip service. ICE is tearing families apart right here in San Diego. And if council wants to stand with our immigrant communities, you all need to vote the right way when it actually matters. There's so much that can be done right now to support us and to create real delineations to ensure safety for our communities. I do want to thank Councilmember Elo Rivera and Councilmember Moreno and Foster, who have stood with us in the past, but there's so much more that could be done by the rest of council. We must end the contract with Flock if we want to protect immigrant communities. We must end any federal enforcement agencies from having access to ARGIS if we want to protect our immigrant communities. We must fully implement the due process and safety ordinance and also pass clear
Your
protocol.
time has concluded. My apologies. If you have additional comments, you can email them, cityclerk@sandiego.gov, and they will be processed. Linda, if you can please unmute.
I want to thank you for this resolution. I'm from District 9. You know, we're the brand new ancients. We set the tone for what kind of country we want by acting on a city level. I support the resolution to oppose the violent actions of ICE agents, and I support litigation to curb and prevent the actions. And I ask you to take it a step further. Clearly state what the role of the San Diego Police Department is with ICE encounters, and explicitly state in this resolution what it means for SDPD to not assist ICE. Please include that they wouldn't be transporting residents for ICE and not supporting traffic control for ICE, and that they would also protect the residents of San Diego by intervening when an ICE agent assaults another human. You know, humans are being detained, and notably, children are being left hungry, neglected, and harmed in ICE detention facilities. The UN Rights Council have raised concerns as well. We can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Carmen.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Carmen. I'm from District 9. I'm the Policy and Research Intern at YouthWill. I support the resolution to oppose the violent actions of ICE agents and support litigation to curb and prevent these actions. I ask you to take it a step further to clearly state the role of SDPD in ICE encounters before Tom Hammond's aggressive assault on San Diegans begins. Please explicitly state in this resolution what it means for SDPD to not assist ICE. We ask that include not transporting residents for ICE and not supporting with traffic control for ICE. We also ask that SDPD protect the residents of San Diego by intervening when an ICE agent inevitably assaults them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Marley. If you can please unmute.
Hi, my name is Marley, and I support the adoption of 608, but by itself and as it is not an adequate response to ICE. They are doing exactly what they are being directed to do, which is hurt people and create fear. What we've seen, what they're doing in Minnesota, and the violence they've perpetuated across communities, both there and across the country here in San Diego as well. This is only the beginning of what this administration wants to do, and the best way to mitigate its effects on our communities is to protect ourselves ahead of further ICE expansion. I'm asking you all to continue to fight alongside and for your constituents and to further empower the people who make up our communities to enact meaningful local resistance. This resolution is a good step, but it cannot be the last step given the brazen inhumanity of ICE and their actions. Starting points might be the cutting off of surveillance information to ICE, defining SDPD's relationship to ICE, or an audit of the Otay Mesa Detention Center. More action is necessary and it must follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Audrey, if you can please unmute. Audrey, I can unmute for you, but a pop-up should have come up. Okay, you dropped off. Ismael, if you can please unmute.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I am here in support of this resolution. The reason why it is important to have a very specific policy is because we know that rhetoric is one thing, and there are several ways that the San Diego Police Department has been manipulated by federal agents, and either through incompetence or through them just looking the other way, they continue to be manipulated by responding to these calls in favor of the federal agents. The reason that this is important to state is because it is not illegal to follow around ICE agents. It is not illegal to record ICE agents. It is not illegal to honk your horn. And what a tactic ICE has been using is claiming this is reckless driving and getting San Diego police to respond to reckless driving calls, stealing resources.
Thank you. Your time has concluded, but thank you for that concluding remark. Next is Nancy. If you can please unmute, then it's the original, and Audrey is our final speaker.
Awesome. Thanks for taking me again. Tech issues. I'm Nancy Beam with Surge, showing up for racial justice and San Diego Families for Justice. With both groups, we are currently organizing hundreds of people who want to step up and support neighborhood patrols and be legal observers. It's a beautiful thing watching our community mobilize, including in the last 24 hours for this comment. There have been legal observers to ICE doing neighborhood patrols for months who have seen SDPD firsthand assist ICE through traffic control and transporting residents and standing by when neighbors are being assaulted. As we are training people, I would love to be able to assure those who want to show up for their neighbors that SDPD will have their back to protect the residents of San Diego. But at present, I cannot. We support this resolution, but it needs to clearly delineate what it means for SDPD to not assist ICE. Organizations and grassroots orgs are gearing up for the aggressive assault in San Diego. We need clarity now before we have the next Alex, Renee, Keith, or Silverio. Thank you.
Next is the original. If you can please unmute.
The doublespeak coming off the dais is absurd. You guys did not care about the people that were coming across the border, that were being raped and murdered along the way because you incentivized it. That's in fact why Tom Homan should be going after government officials for incentivizing these people to come. And you guys don't seem to care that, I mean, you don't want ICE to do their job. And if they were, then the children that were murdered in San Diego County, as well as raped in their own bedroom, wouldn't have been, because those people were supposed to have been deported again. They already were at one point. And if they could do their job, this wouldn't happen. You guys didn't seem to care about where are all the children that came across the border. You guys had thousands of them in the convention center that disappeared. You don't care about them. I don't understand how that can happen when you guys sit here and on one hand, you know, try to virtue signal that you care about them, but you didn't give a shit that the same people that are deporting them and involved in money making with that were doing it on their way in.
Your time has concluded. Audrey is our final speaker. Please proceed.
Hi, thanks for having me on today. I wasn't expecting to speak. I'm actually at work, but I'll try to be quick. My husband was arrested in November at our green card interview, and I appreciate this initiative, but I do think that we need to focus more on concrete, actionable items. The masked ICE agents that came into our interview and took my husband away in handcuffs and disappeared him for 5 days, there was no oversight, and we are still reeling from this. There's been no oversight. There's no way for us to litigate. There's no responsibility for these agents because they did not provide any badge numbers. They wouldn't tell us their names, and they were masked. There's no consequence for poor or bad behavior, and I want to see that. I think we need more concrete initiatives and real protocol.
Your time has concluded. Thank you for those comments. For the record, this item did receive 114 comments in favor and 2 comments in opposition via our e-comment form, which have been distributed to the council. Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. That concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you to our city clerk, and thank you to all the members of the public who chimed in on this item. We're going to go back to council members, starting with Councilmember Von Wolpert.
Thank you very much, Council President Pro Tem, and thank you to everyone who called in, and especially that last speaker. I'm so sorry for what you and your family are going through. 2 members of my family also went through their green card interviews, and I just can't imagine seeing your husband taken in the middle of a legal process that you were told to participate in by your government. I can't imagine if my sisters-in-law were taken as well when they went through their process a few years ago. So I just, this is not how government is supposed to be, but I want to thank my colleagues for this resolution. I want to thank the city attorney for taking the appropriate actions when it's time, now that we're authorizing this resolution. And I want to thank our San Diego Police Department for the work they're doing. I mean, this is not something they'd ever thought they'd be asked to do, which is not something I ever thought I'd be asked to do as a city council member. And we're just a city council in the city, in this country. You know, when I ran for office, I was hoping that we were going to be able to work on parks and libraries and roads and 911 systems. I had no idea that we would be called upon to defend our residents from masked men on the street authorized by the federal government. And so this is something we are all reeling from as well. And, you know, in January of this year, January alone, the San Diego Police Department received 94,000 calls for service. And in January alone, 50,000 of those calls, over 50,000 were 911 emergency calls. And we have approximately 1,800 sworn police officers working in our police department to respond to the 50,000 911 calls last month alone. Our officers are under enormous strain to respond to the needs of our residents, to prevent and solve crimes, to respond to medical emergencies. And now the federal government, a lot of their agents are causing increased strain on our city. So I am in conversations as a chair of public safety. I've asked the department to start tracking the monetary damage this is doing to us. I mean, it's very hard because you never know when a call is going to come in, but we need to start tracking exactly what the damages are to our city so we can get reimbursed. I also know, I believe that we have a lieutenant on the line to answer any questions, but Lieutenant, I'd love to hear you explain to the public what your perspective is and how the federal government literally calls 911. They do not have a special line into the police department. And so, Lieutenant, could you explain what you've been dealing with as a police officer?
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Cesar Jimenez. I'm a lieutenant with the San Diego Police Department, and I'm also our public information officer. And I'm the liaison with our Hispanic community as well. I myself have been an immigrant. I came here at 17 years old from Mexico. And I've been going to different churches, Spanish-speaking churches, immigrant churches, Univision, Telemundo, and talking about our stance on immigration, which is that we do not take part in any immigration laws. We don't ask people about their immigration status. It's not part of our purview. We're concerned with state law and with local law. And so in that way, you know, our job is very narrowed and focused to those things. So that's what we're trying to tell the public. We're trying to tell our immigrant community, our Spanish-speaking community, and also not just being Spanish-speaking communities as well, that they can come to us to report crime, that if they see a crime and they're a witness to that, they should come forward and report it, that they should not have fear of us as far as immigration goes, because that's not something that we ask. It's not within the officer's purview. It's not how we train them.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And, you know, just also under our legal system here at the City of San Diego, we are governed by a city charter. And that's our city constitution. And city charter section 57 states that it is up to the chief of police and the city manager to have all power and authority necessary for the operation and control of the police department. We have been told over and over on this dais that we cannot impinge on the charter responsibilities of the police department to conduct its own responsibilities. So I understand. Thank you for everyone who called in today. We are doing the best we can every day. Thank you for Councilor Elo Rivera's due process ordinance and the work we're doing to try and protect residents here in the city. We are about a municipal government trying to do the best we can. And please continue coming to us with ideas and thoughts. And thank you to our police department for answering the over 50,000 911 emergencies you get every day, and for following the California Values Act very clearly, SB 54. So those are all my questions, and thank you to everyone again, and I'll make the motion to approve the resolution.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Von Wolpert. We'll turn next to Councilmember Elo Rivera.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. I want to thank the members of the public who were here today and who called in. I'll start by seconding the motion, and I wanted to speak to a couple of different points. First, because it did come up, and this is a good time to mention it. The due process and safety ordinance which the council passed unanimously in the fall, it continues to move through the meet and confer process. I appreciate CODA, you being communicative with our office on that. I don't know if you'd like to provide an update, just so folks know where that stands.
We have, thank you, Councilmember. We have one REO left to meet with. We will hopefully get that calendared this week and then return to this council for its second reading and then signed by the mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we're close to bringing that back for what would hopefully just be the formality of a second reading, which would then mean that it'll go into effect as was passed in the fall. I understand, I think, where the amendments are, the requested amendments are coming from. I want to speak to a couple of them, though. The first is, one, before I even do that, worth mentioning, City Attorney Ferbert has been acting with strategic foresight since immediately taking her office to try to get ahead of what she has anticipated to be violations of the city's rights and our residents' rights, and the office has done a lot on that front, and I think that deserves recognition. There's multiple lawsuits that have been filed, amicus briefs that have been filed, and I want to make sure that City Ferbert gets that recognition, because I don't think there's been any equivocating on her part in terms of the willingness to stand up against abuses of the city, again, the city's rights or our residents' rights. Specifically to the amendments, the first one here is very much an operational decision of this elected city attorney, and I think all of these, especially given the very collaborative nature City Attorney Ferbert has taken when it comes to responding to federal abuses of power, they deserve conversation directly with the elected city attorney. I've never shied away from the council taking action when I think we need to, and I want to talk to our city attorney before we do something like declare our support for the creation of a specific unit within her office. Again, I understand where these are coming from. I think there's a lot of value in this. I just would like to have some more conversation with the city attorney first. That being said, I also want to recognize some of the concerns and questions raised by folks who are still uncertain about what to expect from SDPD and the city in moments of chaos that is manufactured by ICE, Border Patrol, and other federal agents. I've spoken with the mayor and the chief about a couple things that I think we could do to provide additional clarity. There's an ongoing conversation since late spring, early summer about this. One of those things is being willing to ask for identification when federal agents aren't, well, ask for identification when unidentified people are attempting to detain San Diegans. to ensure at a bare minimum that there is actual authority, and that these are not just random men who are kidnapping people. Second, I think there needs to be a bit more clarity in terms of the way in which SDPD may have to respond to a call based on the way the call comes in. Because I think the transparency here is important. There's no guarantee that these federal agents will identify themselves as federal agents when they make the call. However, when arriving, I think that there can be some more clarity in terms of what the protocol will be and when SDPD will be removing themselves from the situation. And then I just believe this needs to be an ongoing conversation. And I want to recognize the frustration of community members who are doing their best to show up and, again, bear witness and are feeling like their police department is being used as a shield for abuses by the federal government. That's not okay. And I think there's some more progress that can be made there. So with that, the last thing I wanted to mention here is I don't think this is not the end of this conversation, unfortunately. I wish it were. I wish that, by next week, the situation will be resolved. I don't think it will be. And so we're going to need to continue to take action. We're going to need to continue to not just take a position as a city, but I think all of us as council members are going to need to lean on every institution in this city that has not made it clear where they stand, that they need to be clear that what is happening right now is not okay. We've had certain institutions like our school districts step up and use their voices unequivocally about how wrong this all is and the impacts it's having in our community. At the same time, and this part might be a little bit uncomfortable, I'm going to say it, the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, which is supposed to represent the voice of business in the city, has a for-profit detention facility as a member and has said nothing about the abuses of federal power that are undeniably bad for the city's economy. Even if you remove all of the humanity from it, at a minimum, it's bad for the economy. And we've heard nothing. And those business voices are important. It's the one thing that Trump gives a damn about is people with money. And I think we have a responsibility as a city to lean on all of them to use their voices and to certainly not grant them immunity from having to take a position during this time. The final thing I wanted to say is I wanted to thank council members Foster and Whitburn for also standing with community, for marching with community. There was a very, very powerful procession that we participated in a little more than a week ago. And so I just wanted to say thank you all for standing up and being out there as well. With that, that concludes my second. Thank you, Council President Pro Tem.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Von Wilpert, followed by a second by Councilmember Elo Rivera. We'll turn next to Councilmember Whitburn.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. I want to thank Council members Von Wilpert and Moreno and Elo Rivera for bringing this resolution forward. While it is a resolution, I think it is important that this council be on record in opposition to what is happening in this country. There are moments when silence becomes complicity, and this is one of those moments. What is being done in the name of immigration enforcement under the Trump administration is immoral and it is unconstitutional. It is harming families, it is harming children, it is harming people who never should have been in harm's way. And that includes people who are right here in this room today. Across this country, immigration and customs enforcement has been weaponized for political purposes. Fear has become the policy, and human lives have been treated as acceptable collateral damage. The deaths are completely unacceptable. They did not happen in a vacuum. They are the predictable result of an administration that has deliberately escalated enforcement tactics, stripped away guardrails, and treated intimidation as a governing policy. I heard several commenters, rightfully today, say that we need to do more than just pass a council resolution. I think it's important that we do this. We do need to do more, and more is being done. Rest assured that this is not all that San Diego is doing. As Councilmember Ela Rivera noted, the Office of the City Attorney has been engaging in litigation. It recently shared its intent to join the City of Boston's amicus brief in support of Minneapolis-St. Paul and the state of Minnesota's challenge to federal immigration officials' aggressive tactics, unlawful immigration policies and practices, and their commandeering of state and local property to stage immigration enforcement actions. That is the City of San Diego taking that stand, and I appreciate the Office of the City Attorney for advancing that. You'll recall that Mayor Gloria issued an executive order last year outlining a series of administrative directives in response to the ICE raids here in San Diego, reaffirming in writing the prohibition on San Diego police facilitating ICE raids, and directing the city to distribute Know Your Rights materials, among other things. I was actually with the mayor last year. We walked to a number of businesses in South Park distributing Know Your Rights materials after the ICE raid there, letting businesses know what their rights are in those sorts of situations. And as you heard, there is more that we will continue to do here at the City Council. We see the consequences firsthand in our city. We hear from patients, we hear from parents, we hear from teachers, we hear from healthcare providers, and from neighborhood residents who are wrongfully detained in these ICE enforcement actions. We cannot be silent, and I'm glad that the City Council is taking a stand. Thank you, Council President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember Whitburn. We'll turn next virtually to Councilmember Campillo.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. Thank you to my colleagues for bringing this forward today. I'm in total support. Just want to start by saying how we've heard from members of law enforcement and the military, people who sign up and know that they're putting their life on the line to keep communities safe, all within the bounds of our Constitution and our laws, and how they know that what is going on with federal immigration enforcement is not true law enforcement, because it doesn't make us safer, and it is an overreach of government power. I have the utmost respect for people who wear a badge and know that they're going out, kiss their kids and their spouses goodbye in the morning, knowing that they might not come back that night, and do everything they can to uphold the law, because they know, as we watch what's going on in other cities and in San Diego, that immigration enforcement is not law enforcement. There is a place for enforcing immigration laws, but the Constitution and laws have to be followed. Knowing what we now know with the federal administration issuing administrative warrants as if they are the same thing as judicial warrants issued by a neutral judge, an Article III judge, is a mockery of 240 years of law. And it tells you everything you need to know, is that they have taken it upon themselves to do what they think is something they ought to be doing, but that's not the way the law works. Every law enforcement officer, and myself being a former prosecutor, we know that legislatures make laws, executive branches execute those, and when there is a dispute and when someone's liberty is on the line, a neutral judge is the one who gets to decide it. I would tell everyone in the United States of America that you need to read the judicial opinion, the order of the court granting Adrian Conejo Arias and his 5-year-old son, Liam, that the habeas corpus writ that was issued this last week. I've never seen in my career as an attorney anything like it, where it's very, very clear that the current federal administration is treating the Constitution as a pesky inconvenience, is what the judge stated their attitude towards it was. These people who are going through our immigration system one way or another still have rights that ought to be upheld. And more than that, they have human dignity that ought to be respected. So I just would remind everyone that Scripture teaches us that we were once strangers in a foreign land, and we were welcomed. And yet in my district, masked federal agents pulled a father from his car as he was waiting outside Linda Vista Elementary School. That wasn't public safety. It wasn't necessary. And it was merely to intimidate the community and to destabilize families. and to inject fear. There's no utility that comes from that type of enforcement. I would just say that San Diego always has been and continues to be built by immigrants, and they are our neighbors, our coworkers, they are business owners, and they are our family members, and they deserve dignity and respect under the law. And more than anything, we have to adhere to a belief that law enforcement must have the enforcement of the laws must have civility and proportionality. Those are not in conflict with enforcement. Those are inseparable from enforcement. It is just time for the Trump administration to get rid of these cruel tactics and for the enforcement of our federal immigration laws to be lawful and transparent and humane. And so I am in support of this item. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll turn next to Councilmember Campbell.
Thank you. I just want to say a few words. First of all, it is unbelievable to me in all my years of life that our federal government, after 250 years of governance, is run by a bunch of people who are lawless, break the laws constantly, all the laws. I mean, there must be 200 laws they've broken already. Unbelievable. It's no wonder that people have lost faith in them. But I also want to point out something that I had been told, and I hope the attorneys here know about this, and if not, will look it up for me. I was told that if, say, for example, an ICE agent comes to your house and tries to break in your door without a warrant, that's not allowed. Under the Constitution, there must be a warrant. Now, in California, it has to be a California judge who signed that warrant, not a federal judge, a California judge. So you can see we're trying to do what we can legally, etc. We're going to keep fighting this. And I know all of our people, almost every single one in this country, is united against this horrible assault on our democracy. We will not put up with it. I am very much in favor of this resolution. I thank you for bringing it forward.
We'll turn next to Councilmember Foster.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. This has been a heavy day for me. I came in the office this morning thinking I would have some celebratory comments as we are moving into Black History Month and celebrating 100 years. But it was nothing of the sort. And as I listened to the conversation, clearly we have limited control over the federal government. But one would think we have control over local government. No matter if it's Charter Section 57, delegation of authority or not, somebody is in charge and somebody is the boss. And I can understand why our residents are asking for more clarity. And quite honestly, I think our police department and mayor owe that type of clarity. I'm going to read a section from the charter. It's Charter Section 11.1. And it says the City Council must give priority in the funding of municipal services to the need of the residents for police protection. It doesn't say to fight crime. It says to provide police protection to the residents. And I don't know what my colleagues hear, but what I hear are constituents, residents, asking, what is that police protection? And I don't think it's an unreasonable request. The other thing that I just want to make clear, and I do appreciate the statement that we are making here today, but I think we've made it since this idiot got into office. And I think we continue to make it. But there is nothing binding our police officers to anything in this document. Nothing whatsoever. And I just have to say that as we are experiencing what we are experiencing, I am also surprised at our law enforcement officers. Because as you hear what has been taking place, in the short time that I've been on this dais and attending meetings that I attend, law enforcement is a family. Doesn't matter if you're a local police officer, doesn't matter if you're an attorney, doesn't matter if you're a prosecutor, it doesn't matter if you're a state patrol trooper, CHP, or a federal law enforcement. I sit on the SANDAG, what is the committee called? Public Safety Committee? I am in a room on a monthly basis with about every single high-ranking police officer or law enforcement official in the city, including DEA and other agencies. There's no discussion on how this administration is putting our officers at risk, because that's what's happening. Not only are they putting our residents at risk, but they are putting our men and women in uniform at risk. I've listened to the phone calls. I've listened to the incidents. Yes, they call 911, but you better believe they signal that they are law enforcement, and they do indicate accordingly in accordance with the way law enforcement communicates. So there is never a moment when the call comes in that SDPD does not understand. It is a call by a law enforcement agency, at least from what I've heard. So I want to be, if I can have a few more minutes, please. So I want to be clear on that. So to think that they don't know what's taking place, to the extent that it is a law enforcement action, they know. They do not know the full circumstances as to what they are going into, which is why I say they are putting our officers at risk. And that is unacceptable. And I'm a little disappointed because I can go through social media of some of our officers, and I think we would all be amazed at the sentiments that are conveyed. And oftentimes it is do what I say do, or you will feel the circumstances. That is unacceptable. As again, it says, we must prioritize funding of municipal services to the need of the residents for police protection. And so we do have work to do. And I do think our San Diego Police Department and our top law enforcement official should be out there more, should be clearly communicating that this is unacceptable, and calling his counterparts in the different agencies to task. Because I would hate to be the police chief and have to deliver a message to an officer's family that they were hurt in the line of duty because of the actions by what we think are well-trained ICE officers. They are not qualified. They have shown that. And so for me, I would like to see more action, as much as I do appreciate our statement. And so I'm going to continue meeting with the police chief, because I do think they should do more. I think they should hold their counterparts to task. I think everyone that steps in the room at the SANDAG Public Safety Committee meeting should be asking the question and holding folks to task. Shouldn't take one council member from the city of San Diego to bring that up. Because right now, the way things are going, and I don't know what conversations my colleagues get, but at some point, a citizen is going to feel the terror and is going to respond in a manner that we will all be sorry for. And that's something that we don't need. And so I would ask the city attorney to, let's look at what we can do to push the envelope. Let's look at what is it, AB 26 and the duty to report. Where does that play into this? How many instances are we reporting as a city of San Diego to the Attorney General's reporting hotline, if I were to ask that question? Because our officers are there. Those calls are emergency calls. It's not one officer that goes. It's several units. And so I do appreciate this. As always, we have more work to do. I will say, even as we do the due process ordinance, once we pass the legislation, it is up to the operations side of our organization to implement. And so as we bring these policies forward, I am really curious to see what the San Diego Police Department policy looks like, how they will implement those policies to achieve the intent of the council, and also to make sure that there's an accountability measure and to figure out how that works. And if that means reporting, if our only option is to report to the Attorney General's hotline, then let's set up a process to do so. And then we can call the Attorney General here to give us an update as to where we are at with those types of complaints. So thank you again to my colleagues. Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. But just looking for more to do, more to do.
Councilmember Foster, representative from San Diego PD did raise their hand in the virtual queue, and so I wanted to ask if you wanted to hear from them since they have.
Sure, please, by all means.
Yes, I'd like to thank the council member for acknowledging the fact that our officers do respond. Sometimes we don't know all the details of what our officers are responding to, but yet they respond nonetheless. And they stand in the middle between the problem that's happening between our federal agencies and our citizens, and we try to bring the peace. We try to lower the temperature. We are there to ensure that violence is not made or escalated in any way. And our officers are there in the middle to protect the citizens and ensure that there's a peaceful resolution to the problem that's presented at that moment. Then once again, we don't always have all the details to, because as the other council member mentioned, we don't share radios with them, and we don't have cell phones. They call 911, and ultimately it's an emergency call, and our officers go and respond. So thank you for mentioning that, and we are there to protect our citizens, and we will continue to do so. And we are in our communities. As I mentioned personally, going to go speak. Somebody mentioned the Buena Forqueta incident, and that was, to the citizens that were there, it looked like a coordinated response. When they called us, they left by the time that we got there, and when we arrived, people were like, you told me, and me personally, they said, you told us that you're not going to cooperate with immigration enforcement, yet here you are. And so we had to explain what happened. We explained our relationship and how we don't share that information, and we got there based on an emergency service call. So that's where we're at. We are here, and we are in our communities all the time. We just finished a civilian academy in City Heights. Council member Ila Rivera was there for the graduation, and part of what we talked about was our immigration posture. So thank you for that time.
I can appreciate that and thank you for the comments, but I will respond with an incident that I discussed with Chief Wall. And I was receiving comments or receiving phone calls in the district one afternoon. And I was told that SDPD was helping ICE. And again, you have to understand this is the public that is calling me. And this happened on Market, I'm gonna say about 43rd, somewhere around there. It's really D9, but I call it home at certain times. And when I showed up to the scene, there were police officers there conducting a stop. And as I came in, I identified myself as the council member for the 4th District. And the officer that I tried to engage basically ignored me. And when I indicated, he ignored me, and I actually called the police chief. And I said, okay, well, I'll call the police chief. That officer told me, I don't care who you call whoever you want to call. All I was trying to do was to make sure it was not an ICE situation so I can go into the venue that I was going to calm the public down and tell them, this is not an ICE engagement. This is a necessary traffic stop that is going to make our community safe. But what they thought was going on, and this is how deep this goes, and why I say this can end in a disaster, is because everyone in the venue thought it was an ICE incident. And so I know our intentions, I'd like to think, are always well. But again, we can only control what we can control, and individuals' perceptions are their realities. And so when the public asks, what are you going to do to protect us? I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. So thank you again. I'm Council President Pro Tem, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. And I give you a couple of my minutes so that you could complete your comments. I'll turn next again back to Councilmember Elo Rivera.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. I'll make this quick. I just, because I think there was an important comment made that is illuminating of to what some of the dissonance is between the community and the city right now. And I fully believe when Mr. Jimenez says SDPD shows up with an intent to keep the peace, that he means that. However, if the lack of peace is coming from one side of the equation, and SDPD is either unable or unwilling to stop that side of the equation from breaking the peace, from imposing violence on the group, they cannot keep the peace. And in saying that, it's creating a false expectation for what the community can hope for in those circumstances. And I know that I truly actually do believe that does not come from a place of trying to be deceptive, that it comes from the place of being someone who's signed up to be someone who keeps the peace. The federal government has broken the model. And they've distorted it in such a way that the way that we normally speak about things does not apply here. So we cannot say that we're going to show up as peacekeepers if we're not able to not, again, unable or unwilling to actually keep the peace on both sides of the equation. So this is the thing that we're going to need to work through and figure out how to communicate with the community in a more clear way. I hope that clarity comes before more dramatic and violent and regular occurrences happen in San Diego. But that was a great example of what I think we're hearing in terms of the miscommunication. And it needs to be solved for sooner rather than later, because Councilmember Foster's point, the consequences of that trust being broken are significant. It's going to take so long to repair that, and someone's going to get badly hurt, if not killed, as a result of what the federal government is doing and that lack of clarity that exists in terms of what to expect in terms of protection and safety. I appreciate the additional time. Thank you, Council President Pro Tem.
Next on the lights is Councilmember Von Wilpert.
Thank you, and thank you to my colleagues and to our police department. Thank you, Lieutenant, for this discussion. This is very hard. We are sitting here in local government with our residents discussing the best ways to protect ourselves from the unlawful and unconstitutional actions of a federal government. Take a moment to realize what we're doing. But also, I want everyone who is watching this, everybody who is engaged in this issue, to realize that the real fight, the real people who have control over these federal agents are not here sitting in this room. They are not wearing San Diego police officer uniforms. This debate is happening in our federal nation as we talk right now. We are under a partial government shutdown because our federal congressional representatives and our senators are in a fight over a budget about how to control the Department of Homeland Security in ICE's and federal agents' actions. Currently, there are Congress members who are fighting not to fund DHS until there are warrant requirements signed by judges, body cam requirements for ICE, limits on excessive force for ICE, and a ban on the deportation or arrest of American citizens. That is what is being fought on the floor of the federal government right now. And they are asking not to fund ICE or DHS any further until those requirements on ICE's conduct, on the federal agents' conducts are put in place. So we can do all we can to scramble here in San Diego to protect our citizens, but everyone needs to advocate at the federal level of government right now and call your congressional representatives, call your US senators to rein in these unlawful actions by ICE so that we can get back to actually doing what we need to do here in our communities. So please, that's where the fight needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Von Wilpert. I think we've exhausted all of the other speakers in the council, so I'm going to go ahead and chime in here because I'll be frank, I think I'm a little bit speechless, not on this item in particular. I think a lot of us tend to turn to the same commentary that we all feel on this issue, which is a sense of that we're appalled or heartbroken over what we're seeing. But I think for just a moment, I want to acknowledge, I think the feeling that I know my wife has acknowledged to me, I imagine is partially the feeling that people, whether you're here in the audience or out in the community, are feeling, which is that I think everything we've seen happening on a federal level and how it translates locally has given also a pretty significant sense of hopelessness. I think that's the response we're seeing from people. And the reason why folks are turning, doesn't matter to who, whether it's your local government officials, your state and federal officials, SCPD, your neighbors, because there's a sense that we each, I think, feel disempowered from what we're seeing enacted upon us from our own federal government. And I think it's actually important to acknowledge that. I think the statement that we make, any statements that we make, whether it's from this resolution, hopefully when we see the due process ordinance put into place, that there are concrete steps, I hope, that we can see moved forward that advance our effort to protect our own citizens here in the city of San Diego, to protect every resident in the city of San Diego. But I think there's a broader question at hand as to how we actually respond at every level of government and how we respond as people. I think that is the challenge that we all are facing to answer. I, for one, believe that part of the reason why this discussion is difficult and why it doesn't feel like there are concrete steps is because we need to have an honest and earnest admission that local government seems to be similarly helpless in our responses thus far from the federal government. We're seeing local governments take legal action. We're seeing local governments try to put what we have thought of as the typical process in which we handle order in place, whether through ordinances, laws, et cetera. And then we've watched a federal government that has been willing to ignore them, bypass them. Councilmember Campbell mentioned earlier whether someone can break into your home. I think that was not a question until a couple weeks ago when the federal government said, no, the federal government can break into your home, whether they like it or not. So I just want to acknowledge this, not because I think there's an answer, but because I have long felt that in each of these discussions, what is really important is that we begin asking ourselves, as residents here in San Diego, how we collectively can respond. And I think that involves pushing, as all of you are, for us to find every pathway, every legal limit, every bit of power that we can push from a local level back on what we're seeing from the federal government. But I think it also means trying to really figure out what the response is from everyday San Diegans, other entities and organizations within our region that have any sense of power, because the voice that actually has to speak up in response to this needs to come literally from everyone. That's how I've long struggled to view the situation that we're facing, because I think it is the collective power of the people that might give us some hope to actually fight back. And to that, I will just point out that we talk a lot about what's happening in Minnesota or in any other major city at the moment, especially the ones that have faced these surges from the federal government. But the reality is that the actions the federal government are taking in San Diego have not subsided. They may not be at the level at which we're seeing in Minneapolis, but they've certainly increased significantly from the time that we've started under this administration, and they're going to continue, especially if funding is not blocked. And so I hate to say that this is still just the beginning. And I think we have yet to answer to ourselves, what can we do to actually push back? What can we do as a government to push back? And also what can we do as citizens here in San Diego? So I want to thank my colleagues for putting this forward. And especially, I do want to acknowledge what Councilmember Elo Rivera said, to especially acknowledge City Attorney Heather Ferbert, because very early on under this administration, she sought out a streamlined process from the council so that her office could engage in litigation all around this country as necessary. But that is only one small piece of the battle, which is the legal piece of it. And as Councilmember Foster said, there are so many more questions to answer as to what we can and cannot do. And I think it's fair to say that if you feel like those questions haven't been answered, I'm okay with admitting that I don't think we have that answer ourselves either. But I think we're committed to continue to working towards that. So I'll conclude my comments, and I believe Councilmember Campbell has something to add.
Very quickly, there is lots we could do. I'm from the civil rights movement, from the 50s, from the 60s. What can we do? We can peacefully assemble. We can sing, we shall overcome. We can sing, we are a peaceful people. We can sing hymns. We can gather in the streets. We can march with permits from our city. Picture this: ICE agents surrounding a federal building, supposedly protecting it from us. As a judge has told them now, ICE, you cannot go into the streets and push people after people throw things at them like tear gas. Now, will they believe the courts? Will they act the way the court has told them? I don't know. But say they are lined up around a federal building and there's a street in front, and the citizens are across the street on the sidewalk and in the other side streets protesting peacefully, and there's the San Diego police in front of us as a line to protect our people, so that those ICE people stay over there on their side of the street and don't come and throw things at us and don't push us and don't hurt us. Our police department wants to protect us. And I think that's what you would see happen here in San Diego. So let us hope that that's the way it is. In the meantime, organize yourselves, be ready for peaceful protest. That's what we had to do in the civil rights movement. It took a lot of training to take that crap from those people with whips and hoses and dogs and beating up on us with batons. We had to stay peaceful. That's the key. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell. And I guess I'll just close by saying, because this triggered a reminder to me, even from what we might have heard, but the actions we're taking, the actions we could take, I think the frustration and the sense of hopelessness is that that is not stopping people from getting pulled off our street right now. That's not stopping people from getting abused, violated. Yeah, so